Three, two.
Heights up on Washington Heights, up in the break of day. I wake up.
Piragua. Ice cold Piragua.
Mr. Johnson, I've got a security
Just
deposit.
scraping by Piragua. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Coworkers podcast, brought to you by another musical number.
This is the third one. This is the third one in a row,
This is the
Josh.
third one in a row.
This is
Maybe this will be
insane.
our thing. We gotta just keep on finding songs to play or sing.
Yeah, I'm done.
Anyways, I'm Josh,
And I'm Regan.
and let's just jump right into it. Regan, what did you watch this week?
Wait, hold up, Josh.
Oh shit!
Before we get into what we watch, I want to
Changing
talk
it
about.
up.
Oh yeah, we're changing it up. I want to talk about some movie news.
Oh yeah, there's like a huge headline.
There's
Came out today.
Huge headline.
Fresh out of the oven.
Yeah. So today, on Tuesday, June 22, it was announced by Paramount, I believe.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they're behind
Yeah.
this series.
It was announced by Paramount that the next Transformers movie will be out next year on June 24th, 2022. And the title is Transformers Rise of the Beasts. Now, you guys know me from the past episodes.
Yep.
Transformers
Yep.
franchise, the live action movies are like my guilty pleasure. Hearing this news got me fucking excited, bro. Let's go, bro.
So, it's supposed to be a continuation, or is this like a reboot? Are
I
there any
don't
details
know.
about that?
Okay, so there's this one guy I follow. His name is Andre Meadows, Black Nerd Comedy. I don't know if you've heard of him.
Yeah, I do know who that is.
And he was part of a press like thing for it when they announced it. And he basically said Optimus Prime is going to be in it, of course. Peter Cullen's going to come back, of course.
Of course. What else is he doing?
Bumblebee is going to be back, of course. He's like he's the staple character, right? Mirage, I don't know if you're familiar with
Yes.
yeah, so Mirage is going to be there. And apparently he's going to play sort of that character that butts heads with Optimus.
I see.
Often, and he's going to be the character that has the connection with the humans more.
I see. Not Bumblebee. Where's
Bumblebee.
Hot Rod?
We don't talk about him.
Oh yeah.
Don't
yeah,
remind me
that's right.
about Transformers 5, bro. Don't remind me about that bullshit.
That's right.
Anyways, so yeah, if you guys didn't know, based off of the title, it has a lot to do with Beast Wars. Now, if you guys don't know what Beast Wars is, there was an era during the 90s where the Transformers basically transformed into animals.
Yeah. Was that the CG one?
Yeah.
Okay, I do know which
Like
one
the
you're
hella
talking
like
about.
early 90s
Yeah.
like, CG, man. Yeah.
It's got that look.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But yeah, so apparently like Optimus Primal is gonna be in this, Rhinox, a lot of like characters from the show, if you're familiar with it. And the villains are apparently they're gonna be like Predacons and Terrorcons. I know what Predacons are. I don't know what the fuck Terrorcons are.
Pterodactyls?
I don't fucking know.
I don't know.
But apparently one of the main villains is gonna be Scourge.
Okay.
You guys know who Scourge is. He was one of Galvatron's minions in the 80s movie.
Oh, yeah.
And then another one's gonna be Nightbird. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but in the original cartoon, she was pretty much she was like an android that humans used.
Okay.
Like they created the android, but then she gained consciousness and aligned with the Decepticons.
Like the weird, sexy android transformer from Transformers 2, the one with the tongue.
Stop, Josh. Stop.
Dude, we're talking about Transformers, so we gotta talk
This
about
is a new era for
all the
Transformers,
greatest
bro.
hits.
But yeah. Anthony Ramos.
Yep.
Fresh off of In the Heights is gonna star in this, along with
Minor spoilers for the future of this episode.
And along with Dominique Fishback, who was in Judas and the Black Messiah, and she was fantastic in it. And I forgot his name. You know,
The director?
Yeah, the director is from the guy who directed Creed 2.
Is it F. Gary Gray?
No, not F. Gary
No.
Gray. Something else. Hold on. Sorry.
Maybe I'm just thinking about Fast and Furious.
That's next week's episode, bro. Stephen Capel Jr. is gonna direct this
way
new
fucking
Transformers
off.
movie. Yeah. I'm fucking excited, man. Like after like Transformers: The Last Night reached like the all-time low, and Bumblebee kind of like picked it up a little bit. I think you can only go up from here, man.
You think so?
You can only
It's
go up
got
from here.
the faintest of heartbeats.
Yeah, I know. But I mean,
man.
you know what? Travis Knight at least picked it up from the ashes.
Yeah,
like barely.
He had to do a lot of heavy lifting.
Yeah, and then hopefully this one will just like bring it up a notch. You know what I mean?
I feel it.
I'm excited for it as a longtime Transformers fan.
Yep.
I'm excited for it. I can't wait to see a truck run itself into a dinosaur, because that's literally what Beast Wars is.
Yeah. So there's no what are the dinosaurs called again in Transformers? Like Grimlock?
Oh, the Dinobots?
Dinobots.
Yeah.
I was gonna say Dinobots, but like I wasn't sure if that like name was just like taking dinosaur and adding it to like a mechanical.
No, you're right. You're right. I
thing.
mean, that's just Transformers, but
Yeah.
you're right. Who knows? I mean, it's weird because after Bumblebee, a lot of the producers were like, yeah, this is like a reboot. And then other producers were like, no, this is a continuation.
Mm-hmm.
Or it's a soft reboot, which is, who knows at this point. But,
Who knows what buzzwords they want to use to describe this property?
no, I know.
Was Bumblebee the one where they showed him fighting Nazis, or was it?
That's the
night?
last night.
Man, these
And that's
fucking
the last
movies.
time I want to reference that. So let's move on.
These movies are. Anyways.
No, hopefully next year when the movie gets closer, or when there's a trailer, we can talk about all of the other ones. Because I know.
No, that's a good idea, because we've been planning to do like a Transformers based episode on this podcast to just talk about all of them.
For a while now.
But we'll get around to that.
Yeah. I have all of them on Blu-ray.
Yep, and we'll just sit down and marathon them for like 2 days.
We'll
Our
probably
brain will be fried
Yeah,
after the
probably.
second one.
Probably.
And then what's after that? Like 4 more?
3, 4, 5, yeah. Oh, and then Bumblebee. Bumblebee is like, hopefully we'll like resuscitate
Oh
us,
my
but we'll see.
god.
Anyways, moving on to what we watched this week. You want me to go first, I guess?
Yeah, Regan, you go first. I think I went first last time, that's why.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, so what did I watch this week? Let's see. I kind of slowed down a bit in terms of the movies I've been watching, just to like take a little breather.
I feel it.
It's been a busy weekend in terms of just, whatever, what have you. How do I get to... Okay. Sorry, I'm only opening up my Letterboxd. Okay, cool. So,
Everybody follow him on Letterboxd
Oh, yeah,
too.
follow me on Letterboxd. Yeah, follow me. But the movies I watched this week were Luca,
Hey,
Hitman's Wife's Bodyguard,
nice.
Black Orpheus, which
okay.
is a Brazilian take on the story of Orpheus, which is phenomenal, honestly.
Interesting. I never heard of that movie, yeah.
Yeah, because, okay, so you know how I talked about Orpheus from Jean Cocteau?
Yeah, you did. Last week.
I was kind of expecting it to be sort of like that, right? Where it's like, okay, it'll be like the tale of Orpheus and Eurydice. And I said it right this time. Eurydice.
Yep.
But
He's learning.
but the way this director, I forgot, and his name is escaping my mind, but the way that he did the story was so unique, and it's set in the backdrop of Rio de Janeiro during Carnival.
Ooh.
Which was sick, and I've never seen that on film before.
A nice visual set piece,
Yeah, it's different and incredibly different from the Jean Cocteau version, which I like. But yeah, dude, this movie like kind of broke my heart at the end.
Damn.
Like there was a lot more emotion to this one, or at least I felt more emotions with this one more than I did Orpheus.
Okay.
So I liked it. And the last movie I watched is Wendy Wu, Homecoming Warrior.
Oh,
Yo,
shit.
That shit goat, bro.
Wendy Wu, Homecoming Warrior. It's the shit.
Bro, no, that shit, dude, that's just goat, bro. I'm not gonna lie, bro.
It is.
In terms of like the decom movies, bro, that High School Musical, goat.
We should talk about decom movies and some of our favorites.
I'm hella down.
Do you know this Disney movie called Most Extreme Primate? Most Valuable Primate?
Oh, you told me about this.
I've told a number of people about this movie, these 2 movies, and so far it was you and Cindy, and Cindy didn't believe me that that there's a movie about a monkey on a snowboard, and the cover art of like the VHS is like him like hitting the slopes and like spraying snow everywhere. It's amazing.
I told you about Operation Dumbo Drop, right?
Yeah, you did.
With fucking what's his
Ray
name?
Liotta, right?
Yeah, with Ray Liotta, fresh off of Goodfellas with Ray Liotta.
And it's about like an elephant, right? In like the Vietnam War.
Yeah, and then
what the hell?
Okay, but anyways, Wendy Wu. Right?
Yeah. Wendy Wu.
This is fucking goat, bro. I don't give a fuck. Because there's like this theme of like what it means to be a Chinese American or Asian American, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, yo,
It's
that's
kind of
sick.
like
I don't see that at all in Disney Channel movies.
it might be the first time I like, as far as I could remember, like that type of subject matter or like with this type of like cast and whatnot. I get like it's a Disney Channel movie,
Yeah.
but like it still did it, you
Yeah,
know, which
like-
I think is kind of crazy in
Yeah.
a very easily accessible format. It was free. Everybody who could view Disney Channel could watch it.
Yeah, exactly.
Now everybody with the Disney Plus could go watch
Yeah.
it.
I mean, they talked about it. Did they stick the landing? Not
Not
necessarily.
really, but I mean,
But I
you
mean,
know,
at least they talked about it, right?
yeah.
And
At least it was something they considered, you know. They
fun
actually thought
fact.
about
Fun
it.
fact about Wendy Wu. The stunt team
Yeah.
for Wendy Wu was also the stunt team of Power Rangers.
Really?
So I don't know if you'll ever watch it again. but
Wendy
if you-
Wu? Maybe.
if you ever go back and watch it, a lot of the way that the fight scenes are shot, it's similar to Power Rangers, like at that time.
It's pretty tight.
And
Didn't know that.
yeah, and there's two like Power Rangers that star in it.
Mm-hmm.
The woman from Power Rangers Ninja Storm,
Oh, okay.
the Blue Ranger, and
Yeah.
then the Yellow Ranger from Power Rangers Jungle Fury. They're both like they
Oh.
both play like supporting roles.
Yeah.
But it's interesting to see them in here.
Interesting.
And there's a bunch of other like actors who've been in the Power Ranger like universe.
That's tight.
Because I mean, not only did the stunt team work on this, but it was filmed in New Zealand.
Mm-hmm.
So and that's where Power Rangers is filmed.
I see. I
And
see.
you know, for a Disney Channel original movie, that the fight scenes are actually choreographed really well, and they're actually kind of exciting. Yeah, I was. This is the first time I've seen it in like
Ages, huh?
ages, bro. Like
In Age of Extinction.
like 12. I'm supposed to make those references, bro,
God
not
damn
you.
it.
But yeah, it was an interesting watch, to say the.
Would you say it's one of those movies that, like, you know, as we grow older, I said Gret, like grow and get put together.
Gret older.
Yeah. Shout outs to Greta Gerwig. Anyways, you know, as we get older, we become more knowledgeable about what we watch. Our taste in what we like is more defined.
Yeah.
So when we go back and we watch something from our youth, we watch it with this new perspective, and sometimes it's like, what the fuck did I like see in this?
Yeah.
But would you say that revisiting Wendy Wu was more of a pleasant experience than like you going like, why did I like this? You know, like.
I'd say so. There,
Nice.
I mean, there were definitely moments in it where I was like, "This is just not working."
Yeah,
this
it's
is
like,
just not
you
working.
know, Disney Channel, you know, usual,
Yeah.
some cheese and whatnot. But,
Yeah,
you know, as a whole, you would say that, like, oh, like, with my newfound knowledge of, like, how I look at things, like,
Yeah.
I could still see why it's good and maybe even pick up something new.
no, for sure, and I think that's why
tight.
I
Mhm.
enjoyed it quite a bit.
That's really cool.
But yeah, those are pretty much the movies I watched. Also, I just want to add this one thing: what the fuck? Hitman's wife's bodyguard or whatever the fuck was so fucking stupid and over the top. That shit was dumb as fuck, bro. I'm gonna just put that out there. That's all have to
I guess I know why I'm gonna go to the theaters real soon.
That's
I'll be
that's
watching
literally all I have
that.
to say about that movie. But moving forward, Josh, what did you watch this week?
What did I watch this week? I actually saw 3 things. Well, technically 4.
Here we go.
So I'm still continuing the series that I brought up last week, and I actually got my hands on a Disney Plus account, so I started
Nice.
Loki.
Hey, all
And
right.
there's a new episode tonight, episode 3. I caught up with the last 2 episodes, and I remember seeing like the art for like the logo and whatnot, like when they were showing the future of Marvel properties, D23, you know when they do that?
Yeah.
They have like a timeline.
I've been.
I remember seeing the Loki logo and being like, why is it in so many different fonts? Like, this is like a graphic designer's nightmare. What the fuck is this?
Yeah.
But it didn't like actually reveal its intentions until I watched the first episode. And then I found out that, spoilers, I guess, for anybody that hasn't seen Loki, that it is a show about the multiverse.
Yeah.
So each letter is in a different font because it's like a different Loki.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, okay. And I like that. And as the show went on, I could I get that inkling of like, oh, I'm interested in like what it's going for, kind of like how I felt about WandaVision, like the mystery. What it's all about now is the show needing to like stick the landing of like, I don't know how crazy this is gonna get. Do you know if whether or not Tom Hiddleston's contract with Marvel goes beyond Loki?
There were some reports that it got renewed for a second season.
Loki got renewed.
Out of all of the series,
that's interesting.
Loki got renewed for a second season. Yeah.
Because with how the show, I know it's only 2 episodes, but like with the ideas it wants to tackle, I would think that like Loki would have a pivotal role in like a movie.
Right.
You know?
Right.
Given that like what Loki is tackling now is the multiverse stuff, and that's a huge can of worms that they have to deal with now. But you know, it's been interesting. It's been pretty fun. Seeing Owen Wilson in something is enjoyable. Like, wow. I'm glad he's still. I'm glad he's getting work. Wow.
Yeah, when he's not voicing Lightning McQueen.
Yeah, when he's not going. I'm just waiting for Mobius to say "Kerchow." That would be so sick.
But yeah, I mean, I agree, man. Like, for the most part, I really enjoyed the first 2 episodes. I think I enjoyed the first one more so.
I did too.
Because
most definitely.
There was definitely that hint of like existentialism that Loki was going through, which I personally like seeing in films. Like, that is like the thing I like seeing. Because I don't know.
Yeah, more of the character stuff is definitely always what's interesting, because if you grow attached to a character, you want to know more about them.
Yeah, exactly.
And what they did in the first episode, it being somewhat of a recap, it's like Owen Wilson was recapping what happens in the MCU to Loki.
Yeah.
And it was a cool way to do it because they're discussing like the sacred timeline and the fact that things have to play out for a reason. And it's kind of interesting that like they introduced that. But then I thought about how at the end of Infinity War, Doctor Strange used the Time Stone to try to find how to beat Thanos. And there's only one timeline where it happens. But then we get introduced to this show, and it's like there's an even higher power that's like tampering with that.
Yeah.
And then it's like, and then even Mobius was like, oh yeah, like this is all supposed to happen.
Yeah,
like
everything was supposed to happen except
in that way.
Yeah.
So like if they died, then that's exactly what the Time Lords like instilled into the world.
Yeah.
And then I thought it was interesting that they had that little discussion about how Loki brought up that the Avengers time traveled. So then they're like, why aren't they? Like how Loki was saying, but the Avengers time travel, why aren't they getting shit for it? And then Mobius is like, oh, that's because it's part of the sacred timeline. Like, it's supposed to happen.
Yeah.
Which is like, that was probably like the biggest thing I thought was like, why aren't the Avengers getting arrested for this? And their reasoning, I could believe it and like let it go with it. And I was like, oh, okay. Like, there's a natural order, and the time lizards need to the time lizards need to make sure that they uphold it. Yeah. And it's all pretty cool. And then in the second episode, they introduced Lady Loki, and we got to see where it goes from there.
Which I'm excited for. I kind of called it because like my friend, he texted me, and I told him, I was like, it's gonna be Lady Loki, and he goes, all right, we'll see. No.
Is Lady Loki an established character? Like,
yeah, I think the whole thing about Lady Loki is that there was this point where in the comics, Asgard came to Earth. They needed to create new Asgard, and so the spirits of the Asgardians put themselves into humans, and then Thor,
Loki inhabited
he inhabited Lady Sif's body.
Oh, okay.
So he became Lady Loki that way, or whatever.
Okay.
The fuck. Yeah, and that's basically the gist of it. I don't know much about Lady Loki, but I just, I guess I just appreciate different characters and whatnot.
Yeah, well, with the introduction of the multiverse stuff, I could only hope that this all but confirms, Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield making an appearance in No Way Home.
We'll see.
But yeah, we'll see. We'll see in 6 months when it comes out, December, right?
Yeah. There's a lot of theories going around about Loki, about like who Lady Loki really is.
Yeah.
If the time lizards are actually real or not.
That is true.
But yeah, I mean, Excited
Have
for
to
the
see
show,
what
man.
happens.
We'll just have to, we'll
been
just have to
fun.
wait and see what happens.
Other than that, I watched 3 movies. The first one I
Ooh.
watched was Luca,
Hmm?
which I will say it now. It bookends my hot streak of taking L's with movies. I hate to say it, but for a Pixar movie, I could confidently say I did not like it.
Do you think it's worse than The Good Dinosaur? I've never seen The Good Dinosaur.
I have never seen The Good Dinosaur.
Oh boy.
But like,
Do you think it's worse than Cars 2?
I think it's on that level. It's on the level of like movies. It's just the fact that like I could look at the grand scheme of Pixar movies, and for the most part, I will say like I like them to like they're like average. Like the Pixar movies that stick out to me as being like kind of meh or like average. Things like a lot of the sequels or prequels. Monsters University, I think is like eh. Finding Dory, I think is eh. Toy Story 4, I think is eh.
Really?
Yeah, honestly. And it's like Luca was the first time I watched a Pixar movie. Well, aside from like something like Cars and like Cars 2 and whatnot, maybe even like Cars 3. But I was watching it, and then by the end of it, I was just like, this didn't work. Like,
I feel it. I completely feel
Okay,
it.
so a big selling point of the movie was the fact that it takes place on the Italian Riviera, right? Like, it's gonna capture the feeling of like a nice warm summer, this youthful nature. It's very like bright and sunny. But I feel like those aspects they weren't handled in the most genuine way. As in like, yeah, I could see it's sunny, but like the world doesn't really feel like lived in or like as expanded or delved into for me to really be immersed by the environment, the beautiful like environments and landscapes. The other thing is that like I don't know if I could keep on saying like giving the compliment of Pixar movies look good, because it's like, yeah, they look good, but what else? And I'm just like, you could only get so far with something that like looks good. Where's the substance? Like, it looking good is literally the outside sheen of like this film.
Right, it's like
what about inside?
Yeah, it's like the whole iceberg thing.
Yeah,
right?
the whole iceberg thing. But the thing about the Luca iceberg is that under the surface, it's like this tiny little rock. It's not really that delved into.
Yeah.
Luca's life as a sea monster is not really established. Like, him figuring out what human culture is like, there's no like point of relatability between the two for him to actually be like, oh, it's like, you humans, like, I shouldn't be scared of you because we're more alike.
Yeah.
It's not just the fact that like I'm different, accept that I'm different, or like there's like more to me, which is like the point of the movie is that like don't be afraid to like be yourself. People will accept you,
which I think is a great message for like for
which
for
I
kids,
think is a good message.
You know,
it's just that like I don't think it's that strong in its presentation.
Yeah.
And then it goes from like how it wants to be like a coming of age movie and kind of like appreciating the mundane and the discovery in like youth and whatnot. But then it becomes like this weird, like low stakes Disney plot about trying to beat a guy in a race. It's all just weird. And also like
that villain is not good.
I thought the B plot with the parents was super weird. Like they're so they're trying to find their son. The parents are trying to find Luca. So let's just first off go around the town and like abuse the children. It doesn't catch the eye of any adult, of any like parent of these kids. But also, if they're dunking like kids into the water, they're gonna reveal to the town that Luca's a sea monster. And like, we haven't gotten to that point in the film where people are gonna be more understanding. So it's like it's just so weird. I don't know. It's just so odd. And yeah, that's pretty much all I feel about Luca. It looks pretty good, and the writing is off.
No, I feel it. I completely understand. I completely agree for the most part.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just it got some chuckles and laughs out of me, like Luca's uncle.
Oh yeah,
That was pretty
Sacha
funny.
Baron Cohen. The way he talked was funny. Yeah.
That was funny, and it got a few laughs out of me. But I don't know. It was just I just felt empty. Like I didn't feel anything after.
Yeah.
And I don't know. It's just I just felt like you said, there's really no connection to his life as a sea monster versus his the humans and whatnot. I think one thing that irked me was that he wanted to spoilers for those who didn't watch it. He wanted to go to school.
Yeah.
Which
School of Fish, get it? Ahaha.
which is cool, right? It's good for him. But it's just I just don't feel like it was established that well. I get that they set it up because they had to separate him and Alberto or whatever, right? But I just feel like is that really what he wanted?
Yeah,
I thought from the start,
I thought it was to
really
see the world and
Yeah.
discovery. I guess it's like he discovered school and then now he discovered an interest to learn.
Yes.
Yeah, but it just feels like so rushed,
It
it's
felt
muddled.
abrupt, pretty much. I mean, for the most part.
Like we just needed to get to this point.
Yeah. I don't know. It was a little off, but
And Alberto did a really good job convincing the family to send this fish boy that they just discovered as a fish man
off
to
a
another
new fucking
city.
Yeah.
It's like, what? Yeah. I don't know. It's just like the established rules or not established rules. Like it all feels like they're conflicting with one another.
Yeah.
And it just led to an experience where I felt kind of unsatisfied with. That's Luca.
I mean, I think for me, it's like I went from Soul being one of my favorite movies of all time, being easily one of my favorite Pixar movies. Then from Soul, Luca, and it's like, what happened? You know what I mean?
I assume that this is just safe by the books Pixar movie.
Probably. Probably. But Josh, what would you rate Luca?
I gave it a 4. Nice. I like it.
I probably gave it like a C, a low C.
Yeah. You know what Luca made me want to watch? Call Me by Your Name.
That's true. Yeah, a lot of people were drawing parallels to that.
Mainly because of how Italy is portrayed in Call Me by Your Name. There is a beautiful the beautiful warmth, the genuine warmth that I felt with Call Me by Your Name was what I was looking for with Luca, but presented in an animated form.
Right.
And it's just from a visual standpoint, it almost got there, but I don't know. There's I didn't feel immersed, like how I felt with Call Me by Your Name.
I get it.
And yeah, the second movie I watched is so the second movie I watched is A Clockwork Orange. You gotta push that in kind of.
Okay.
For anybody who might be wondering why there was a long delay there, my door keeps opening. Spooky ghost in my house.
We'll just cut that. Anyways,
I watched A Clockwork Orange.
Oh, nice.
Stanley Kubrick.
Is that your first Kubrick film? Is that your first Kubrick film?
It's not my first. It's my second one.
Oh.
Third actually. Right after Shining.
Oh, nice.
But yeah, this movie is kind of nuts. For those unaware, this movie is a black comedy satire about terrible people. It's about awful circumstances. It's about awful things, but it's presented with the purpose of asking essentially a question of morality and the lesser of two evils. Because if you don't know, for anybody who doesn't know the general purpose, the general premise of A Clockwork Orange, it is about this delinquent antisocial named Alex DeLarge, and he lives in a dystopian future dystopian Europe, and the whole place is so lawless and chaos just kind of runs amok, and he inhabits the world with his friends. He calls them droogs, which is a Russian slang for friend. And every night he goes to a milk bar where they serve something called Milk Plus that is laced with a drug that enhances one's need for the committing of violence. And it's not just any old violence, like I'm gonna vandalize something. It's like the first thing they do after they get their dose of Milk Plus is they find a homeless dude like under a bridge and they just beat the shit out of him. And they just find pure joy and enlightenment in it. So the beginning of the movie, like the first third, it just shows Alex and his droogs going around just causing mischief, and it's all narrated by Alex. And the thing about Alex is that he's a very charismatic person. He's a charismatic sociopath who has a way with the words. He talks in like rhyme, and he uses like all these flowery words to describe his acts of ultra violence, as he likes to call it. And he doesn't really see any wrong in it because the world is so fucked. So he's just like, why not just indulge myself in it? Him and his friends. Like, why not just have fun in it? So there's that aspect, and you might watch the beginning, especially since in the beginning there's one of the most infamous scenes in like film, and I'm not gonna get too into it. Is it them
like walking, like him and his friends walking?
No, it's the singing in the rain scene. Yeah, that happens in the way beginning, and that part is already like fucking hard to like watch. It's shocking. And then they present all these terrible things because, at least in my mind, they don't want you to empathize with Alex, of course. Because you're just watching this terrible guy, and you might be thinking, like, why the fuck am I watching him, like, do all this stuff? Like, what's the point? It's not until he finally gets his comeuppance, and him and his friends break into this cat lady's house. That's what they call her. She's like this woman who lives alone, who lives with a bunch of cats. And Alex accidentally murders her. And he ends up having a falling out with his friends, and they leave him to get arrested. So he gets arrested, and then he gets taken to jail. But then there's like this power dynamic, because there's a power dynamic shift. Because for the whole movie, you're watching Alex, the leader of his band of droogs, going out and exacting some like closed fist like terror on like people. He wants to have control in this lawless world. He wants to control things his way. He beats up his friends, and then he bullies people, and he assaults people that he finds lesser than him. So he thinks he's hot shit, and nothing can touch him until the police get to him, and then they arrest him. They beat the shit out of him, and they start like enacting their own like version of like justice. And then this whole like morality conflict starts to butt its head, because at the jail, Alex finds out that there is a experimental rehabilitation program to change a person so that they aren't a criminal anymore. And what it essentially does is it's brainwashing. You know, I feel like the illusion, or like what it wants to like hearken to, is like, you know how back in the day there was electroshock conversion therapy.
God, yeah.
I feel like this is what it is liking the world to. It's like in terms of like a real world sensibility.
Right.
So it's like you hear that, and then it's presented that like while in jail, Alex starts like reading the Bible because of like a pastor who's working in the jail, and then he starts being immersed in like religion, and then the pastor like tells him something about like the nature of man. Is that like what makes a human is the ability to choose. And then when Alex undergoes the conversion therapy, he loses a lot of his humanity. He loses his choice. Even though his choice is violence, like, is he even a human when like he gets converted and he gets sent out into the world?
Right.
And that's where the name of the movie comes from. A Clockwork Orange, a clockwork, like he's essentially like another cog in the machine, because through the conversion therapy, there are some higher powers like the government that are trying to pass a law so that they can keep on using this for petty like crimes and like all crime, because like they need to open up the jails for like true criminals like politicians and whatnot. So we can't be mucking around with like petty thieves and like whatever these guys are doing. So from the range of the terrible stuff that we saw Alex do all the way down to like anybody in between, anybody who commits a crime would be subjected to like conversion therapy. So then it presents this even eviler power. And then you start thinking like, this movie plays this fucked up game with you where Kubrick is essentially saying, do you feel bad about Alex? Well, you shouldn't, because he did all that stuff in the beginning, right? And then they send him off into the world after the conversion therapy. And what happens every time, like, Alex tries to participate in something like violent or criminal behavior, he gets deathly sick. Like he's like on the verge of like vomiting and like having a heart attack, like right there. And then he might go out and then he tries to tell people. Like the first people he visits after leaving the prison is his parents. And then he's like, oh, but like I'm a changed man. Like I went through this process. You read about it in the news. And then the parents actually rented out Alex's room to another man. And it's funny because the guy that they rented out the room to is like an ideal version of Alex. He seems to be like a good kid about the same age, cares about his parents, and that guy does nothing but antagonize and like talk shit about Alex. Rightfully so, because like he's essentially like us, where he only knows about Alex through the newspaper and like his terrible deeds and how he went through this therapy, and he thinks like, oh, it's like you're still like an awful person even though you went through this. And the parents like feel bad because like they essentially just like threw away their son. And even when like Alex shows the genuine interest in like changing and becoming a better person, and you know he went through the therapy, so he can't even choose to like go back to being a bad person. It's like nothing will like go his way, no matter how much he might consider himself like correcting his past mistakes and whatnot. And then he goes out into the street, he sees the homeless guy that he beat up earlier in the movie, and the homeless guy's like, I know you. And then Alex tries to run away because he can't fight him. He's like sickened by the idea of violence, so he runs through this tunnel where there's a bunch of homeless people, and they beat the shit out of him. So, and then two cops come, and they're like, all right, back it up. Who is this guy? And it turns out that the two cops were two of Alex's friends.
Oh, wow.
And they see him, and they're like, oh, you remember when you like talk shit about us? And you know that scene you were talking about where they're like walking down the street, and in that scene, Alex beats the shit out of two of them.
Yeah.
So then they're like, oh, it's like, let's go take our revenge. And they just abuse him, and they like nearly drown him, and they just fucking do whatever they want. They just like have their way with him. And then Alex is just like pleading like don't do this, please. Like I didn't go through all this just to like be abused this way. And then at the end of it, the last people he meets, of course it had to be this guy. He ends up at the house where the singing in the rain bit happened, and he runs into the guy, the husband. The wife isn't there anymore. And Alex is narrating, and he's saying like, oh, I was wearing a mask when it happened, so he's not gonna recognize me until when he's taking a bath, he starts singing in the rain. And then the guy gets triggered, and then he wants to plot revenge now. And then so he invites Alex to dinner. They eat, he has him drink this drugged wine, and some other like house guests come in, and they kidnap Alex, and what they do is they lock him in a room. And originally, one of the defining features of Alex is that he loves Beethoven. He loves that music, and he thinks of him as like he thinks of himself like through listening to Beethoven and having like this higher appreciation of music. This is like typical like antisocial, like sociopathic like behaviors or whatnot. He has a higher image of himself. But now, because of the conversion therapy, it became associated with Beethoven. So not only is he sickened by violence, he's sickened by music. So what they do is they lock him in a room on a second story, and under them is the guy that was a part of the singing in the rain bit, who wants to take revenge, the three guests, and they have these giant speakers blowing the Ninth Symphony through the floor, and Alex is just like wallowing in like he's just like suffering. And then what he does is he comes to this conclusion where he's like, I don't know if the conversion therapy actually wanted me to be a good person or to do me in, which means and then after he says that, he climbs a window, he tries to commit suicide.
Jesus.
And then this is like now where the movie wraps up, and it again like introduces like the higher like government powers who like put him through the conversion therapy and whatnot. And there's all like this like tension of like people who think the conversion therapy is wrong, and then there's the people that think the conversion therapy is doing something well, all while Alex is just lying in bed a cripple, just like, I have to just let these people do whatever they want with me. And yeah, that's A Clockwork Orange.
What'd you rate it?
I gave it like a 9.
That's fucking intense.
You know the type of movies that I like, Reagan.
Well,
I don't know when I'll watch it again. I find it really interesting.
Yeah.
I find it a lot more interesting actually than like 2001: A Space Odyssey.
Really?
Which I saw like in theaters, which was like a great experience. But what Clockwork Orange wanted to like explore, I found very, very enthralling.
Nice.
And the last movie I watched, we could talk about this together, is In the Heights.
Well, before we do that, let's have a quick word from our sponsor. So if you're like me and Josh and you want to make your own podcast, why not use Anchor? It's the easiest way to make a podcast. So there are certain tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or your computer. And Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and anywhere that podcasts can be listened to. On top of that, you can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. And it's free. So, what are you guys waiting for? Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started.
So today we will be finishing off the episode by talking about the new Lin-Manuel Miranda musical film, In the Heights. Reagan, what do you think about In the Heights?
Dude, fucking love that shit, dude. That shit was such a good time, dude. I liked it. It was, I mean, I don't know. It was just such a good time.
I agree. It's a lot of fun. Fun. I think the movie has a nice heart to it. Mm-hmm. It's got, there's a genuineness, a warmness that I find like throughout the movie. Not just because the setting of the movie is New York before a blackout and it's hot as shit, like 100 degrees in New York. It's not just that, but it's the fact that the way that all the characters interacted with each other, how they felt so familial and so interwoven with one another, that I found the character and the character stuff, and even more so like each of their stories, like very fascinating.
Usnavi?
Yeah, Usnavi, bro.
Named after the Usnavi, boat. And you probably never heard my name. Yeah, but yeah.
Anthony
named after the boat.
Ramos.
Anthony Ramos.
Anthony Ramos. That man is like a star in the making. He is charismatic as hell. He was really good in this movie.
Do you know that he was in Godzilla King of the Monsters?
Yes, I do know that. But let's not talk about that. Yeah. Let's go talk about him being an absolute beast in this movie.
I think piggybacking on like what you said, I think that's one thing I really liked about this film was the communal, like the community aspect.
Yeah.
And how like even though these people may not be like your blood and whatnot, like they're still family, right? And when you come home, they're always gonna be there for you regardless.
I mean, the character of Abuela and like her whole deal of adopting the block and like making sure everybody has a home and whatnot.
Exactly, yeah.
And then that whole big theme of like reconnecting back with your roots, like making sure you don't forget that about yourself, being proud of who you are. Mm-hmm. Man, this movie did a better job doing that than Luca. It's like a better Luca.
Okay. These are two completely different movies, but but it's good, man. I like it, and
it's a lot of fun.
Again, the Afro Latinx like representation, man. Mm-hmm. It's great.
Yeah.
I don't know what there is to say about this. What did you think of the music?
I really enjoyed it for the most part. I thought I was talking to a friend who saw it the same day that I did, and she said that she was more interested in the character stuff because she thought that the music felt a little bit like too much like Hamilton. And I didn't really feel that way necessarily. The fact that like I knew it was another Lin-Manuel Miranda penned like feature, and like it's his music, it's his like lyricism and stuff like that. It's very much apparent in the wordplay, the raps, and like how clever it is. But I think it's the fact that the production is predominantly inspired by like Latin music and stuff like that, where I didn't see the similarities too much in the way that it like the instrumentation sounded. And for the most part, like a lot of the songs were like really catchy, and then the performances really captured the energy of like the stage, but blown up to an even larger degree, because now they aren't just confined to a stage. They could kind of like go anywhere as long as the set location allows it. Yeah. And I think it paid off. It's a very fun movie.
I agree. Now, Josh, both of our favorite films of all time is La La Land.
Yeah.
And now La La Land, the opening scene of that has a very, how could I say it? It's a very big, elaborate musical number, like a dance number. It's filmed on a freeway. Now this has multiple elaborate like musical numbers. What did you think of it? Like, you know, based off of your experience of like, you know, other musicals. I don't know if you've seen any, like many, but like based off of like your other like experience.
High School Musical 1, 2, you know.
But what'd you think? What'd you think of like the dance numbers and whatnot?
I thought they were really fun. I really like the like when the movie like kicks off into like just like absolute insanity of like kinetic energy with like so many bodies moving around and stuff like that, making sure that like everything is readable, to make sure that like everybody has a part and nobody looks like they're just kind of like wandering about. I think about scenes like first one, the In the Heights number, when they're all dancing in the street. I think about the club scene. And the scene in the pool. It's like those are all like very like high energy, like really fun numbers and whatnot. And in terms of like the other musicals that I have seen, I think the technical merits and like how lively it all was, I think it's better than most of the other ones that like I've seen. And I just think it's really enjoyable.
No, I do. Anything else I can talk about? Have you seen Hamilton?
Yes, I have. I saw it when Disney Plus added it.
Oh, nice.
My only familiarity with Hamilton before it was I had to do a storyboard project for a Hamilton song, and I had Satisfied. And I thought that song was really good.
Dude, I'll rap that entire shit right now.
I probably listened to that song like 90 times for that project. Like I listened to it like 20 times to like get an idea of what I wanted it to look like, and then like listening to it again over and over and over again to get the timing right. But I thought it was really cool. And then with that in mind, I kind of thought about like this movie too, and like I thought about like that aspect, like going into this movie. It's like it's just a me thing of like if I had to take one of these songs, like which one would I want to do a project on?
I agree.
And it was really cool. You know what? I actually had a nice fascination with the Piragua song. I think like by the end of the movie, especially like the fact that there's an after credit scene with Lin-Manuel Miranda singing about like everybody buying his Piragua, but the main lyric where he says just scraping by. And I'm like, no, okay, like I get it. It's like because prior to this movie, there wasn't really like a bright spotlight shown on the Washington Heights community, the Afro Latinx, like community. You said. And I think like that sentiment of like these people exist, they're just like scraping by, but like they're here, like they exist, like you should like what's the word that I'm looking for? You should like actually be aware that they are a community. Like I feel like that's just a really nice sentiment, and it's like Lin-Manuel Miranda, it's like his love letter to like that to those people. It's really nice.
I wasn't really familiar with like Lin-Manuel Miranda. I mean, but he's everywhere now. Like he's a huge star now.
Yep.
But man, my siblings obsessed with Lin-Manuel Miranda. And when Hamilton came out, that was playing around the house like 24/7. In the Heights comes out, now it's playing in the house 24/7.
Yep.
And like, okay, I'm gonna be real. Me being a hip hop fan, right?
Yeah.
I was a bit apprehensive going into like Hamilton, or Hamilton, right? Because it's like first of all, like, yo, who is this dude using hip hop music to talk about the 1700s?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like,
originally
what?
when I had heard the premise was Hamilton is a historical piece set to rap music.
Yeah, it's like,
I was like, huh?
What? But then I heard the songs, and then I remember I was like researching it a little bit, and I was like, because there were a lot of samples that Lin used, and me being a big hip hop head, I recognized them immediately.
Yeah.
Right. And so I was researching it, and I was talking to my brother, and I was like, oh yeah, dude, Lin-Manuel Miranda was like sampling a lot of like Biggie, a lot of like East Coast rappers, right?
Yeah.
And my brother was like, yeah, man, like in a lot of interviews, like he loves hip hop, like he respects that shit. And I'm like, I respect that, you know, like, because it's so easy for someone to do this wrong, you know what I mean? To go in blindly and to like just do this like all this superficial shit like with hip hop, right? And it's like, I give props to Lin for being like a true fan, and like sticking to like just staying true to what it is. You know what I mean?
Most definitely, because I have a clear as day example of how not to write rap and how to not integrate it into your movie. It is a M. Night Shyamalan movie called The Visit. You are unaware with how rap is incorporated into this damn movie. So The Visit is about two kids who get sent off to spend like a week with their grandparents, but it turns out the grandparents aren't exactly who they think they are. But that's besides the point. The real kicker is the son, and he's like this shithead like 13-year-old who thinks he's like a rapper, and he just like makes raps and whatnot. And there's like an interview where someone asked, oh, M. Night, like, how did you come up with the raps for the kid and stuff like that? And he's like, oh, you know, like, I was wondering how like other rappers did it. So I would put on like a Biggie track, I would put on like a Biggie album, and I'd be like, oh, he rhymed that with that, like, oh, that's like really clever. And how it's presented in the movie is utter dog shit. It's so bad, like these raps. It's like
interesting.
It's not respectful. They're not funny, even though they're played up for comedy. It's painful. And yeah, I just thought it was really interesting how you talked about the whole rap thing, and it just instantly made me think of this terrible, terrible movie.
Well, I mean, that's another thing about Lin, is that like his lyricism is insane.
Yeah, it is.
And like me being like that's what I look for in rap songs and hip hop songs, is like the lyricism more so than the beat. Like you can have a bump and beat, but like, you know, if your lyrics,
I'm definitely more in the same ballpark as you.
Like you know, if your lyrics are whack, then it's like, what the fuck, you know?
Yeah, it's like, what the heck?
I like it when rappers are like, I'm a lyrical, spiritual miracle individual. But
hell yeah, bro.
But yeah, no, it's just like
mom spaghetti.
It's just Lin respects hip hop, and you can see it in his work.
He respects the art form.
He respects the art form. You can see it in Hamilton. You can see it especially in The Heights. Like it's good, man.
It just elevates, like, you know, Lin-Manuel Miranda as a writer. And it just really shows his chops.
Yeah,
I think it's really good.
Yeah, like, oh man, what did you rate in The Heights?
I rated In the Heights a low to decent 7.
Okay.
Yeah, it was a very enjoyable movie.
Nice.
I think I like it more than Hamilton.
Okay. Oh, that's what my siblings said.
I think I do too. I think I came to that conclusion because I find the character stuff more interesting than the historical context of Hamilton.
Yeah. Nice.
Even though this movie might be missing Daveed Diggs, but you know,
he's doing blind spotting. He's doing blind spotting.
He's in clippings, bro. He's doing his own thing.
But yeah. Oh, did you know Hamilton's in San Jose? Is like in San Jose?
Word?
Yeah. Dude, let's fucking go see it.
Trying to go?
Wait, is it San Jose or San Fran? Oh, whatever. Well,
Either
of those.
one, we could go.
I'm down. I'm hella down.
All right.
But I think I gave In the Heights an A minus, B plus,
Nice.
yeah, something like that, around there. I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Yeah.
It was a treat.
I guess the only like gripe with it is that like it's a really long movie.
Oh
And
yeah.
It's like
Oh yeah.
I originally when I watched it, dude, I watched it at like 7 a.m. because I
What
woke
the-
up so
what the fuck
early.
are you doing up at 7 a.m.?
Dude, because that day I came home from work and I took a nap for like 4 hours, and then it was 2 a.m. and then I went to bed again. Woke up at like 5. I stayed up for like a few hours. I got something to eat, and I was like, I should probably just watch something. And I watched In the Heights.
Nice.
And yeah, I definitely didn't feel the runtime until Usnavi was like, "You guys want to take a break?" And I was like, "Oh, that's like an intermission in a musical." Oh, okay. I was like, "Oh, now I'm at like the halfway point."
Oh wow. Interesting.
Man, I also thought the whole reveal that the island is just a store, I thought that was pretty satisfying too.
I know that kind of caught me off guard, dude.
Because it's like when they were leading up to it, like with him like talking about leaving and stuff like that, I started to get like a feeling that like the island isn't like an island, you know, it's not a literal island, but it's the fact that he has such an appreciation for his home and like the foundation and like the community that he found what he was looking for. What's the word that he named the bar? Puerito?
I think so. I don't remember.
Puerito, like Little Dream?
Something like that, yeah.
Banger, bro.
Good.
Yeah, that's In the Heights.
Is it the first Oscar contender of the year?
Okay, that's a question I'll toss out at you.
Okay.
One of these songs is bound to be
For sure.
a like, you know, Oscar runner.
Yeah, for sure.
Which song do you think it is? Which one song? Maybe two songs.
Probably the main one, In the Heights.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Oh, I'm trying to think.
I think you know what my second choice is.
Is it the Benny one?
Iragua.
You know. You think it's gonna be nominated for an Oscar?
Dude, that shit banging.
All right, we'll see.
That's open to Piragua.
We'll see.
Anyways, yeah, that just about wraps up today's episode. I hope everybody enjoyed it.
Yeah, we kind of just like pinballed everywhere.
Yeah, dude, imagine like the tonal whiplash people are going to experience going from Clockwork Orange to In the Heights.
Oh,
At
Jesus
least we
Christ.
ended it on something happy.
Dude, we fucking went
You know what? Whatever.
everywhere. Yeah,
Whatever.
facts. I feel that though. But yeah, guys, please go watch these films. Form your own opinion. Yeah, if you guys enjoyed this episode, let us know what y'all thought of this episode. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed. Please follow us on Instagram at coworkers.podcast. And I think that's about it. But yeah, I'm Regan.
I'm Josh.
And yeah, thank you guys so much for listening. Catch you guys later.
Have a good night, everyone.
Bye.